All right, guys. With the event of Kobe passing this past Sunday, um, the 23rd, we want to do a video of people that inspired us that has gone on. Um,
this is going to be basically focusing on Kobe as well as Neil Peart from Rush, who he was the drummer, if you don't know, and he passed away January 7th with his battle of brain cancer. But we'll get into it more later. You go ahead and.
So
it's more recent, so.
Yeah. So with the thing about Kobe's passing, it happened in a helicopter crash. If you don't know, I mean, it's been a very big thing here recently, so I'm sure you know. And his daughter was in the helicopter as well. She was 13 years old. It happened the day after LeBron passed him in the all-time scoring list, and with the way Kobe went about his life, he was something special that you couldn't replicate, that you can't do over again. You probably won't see another Kobe. He was always classy. He was always knew what to say and when to say it. And he always worked really hard for what he wanted and what he wanted to do. And that was play basketball and have a life with his family. That's the base of his life, family and basketball. Until he got older and he had kids, and it opened him up to, friends that he opened up more to more people, and he became even a greater man. He was a good role model to kids because he showed them that if you work hard, you can achieve something. You can be okay at something, but if you work hard every day, 24/7, you can get that goal. It doesn't matter what it is, you can get that goal. And he just literally was a living embodiment of that, working hard at everything. And it sucks so bad that his daughter wasn't a person that could definitely. Gigi, she was if you go look at it, she had every skill that Kobe had, but she was 13. That's an accomplishment. There's an interview that he had with Jimmy Kimmel where he said, "Does any of your kids want to get into the game?" And he was like, "Well, everybody is telling me that I need to have a boy. I need to have a boy. I need to have a boy." And Gigi stood up and was like, "No, I got this. I can do this. I can carry on that legacy." That's who she was. She was literally a young female version of Kobe. And she worked hard every day, and she did everything that, her dad told her. There's pictures of her, or videos of her and Kobe at games, and he's explaining the game to her. He's like, see this, you see this, and you can see that she's absorbing every bit of information.
Because you can't. Whenever Kobe tells you what you're doing wrong,
and it's
you go,
her dad.
I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Not only is that my dad saying it. It is different if it's it's your dad and he's a welder, and he's like, "Hey, you're shooting the basketball wrong." And you're like, "Well, Dad, I don't know if you know too much about how I'm shooting this." But when your dad is Kobe Bryant and he's telling you how to shoot the ball, and you're like, "Oh yes, I have messed up then."
Yeah.
I will.
The classic Kobe shot she had down pat at 13. She had the old shimmy fade already in her bag, and that alone, she was destroying kids every day. She was just bang. It's easy. And it just sucks that they had to go too soon, but and definitely everybody on the helicopter helicopter, all 9 people. Like, it was a very tragic event. Like, all 3 of the girls that were on that plane, that were going to their practice or game, Gigi and the other 2 girls, her friends, were going to play a game, and, you know, they didn't have the chance to, you know, do what they wanted to do in life. And that sucks. Because you've seen how bright they were, and they didn't have a chance to fulfill that in their life.
Yeah.
And people always, like, I've been hearing it here and there of, like, you know, why are people talking about this so much? It's, if someone inspires millions of people, millions upon millions of people worldwide, like, Kobe knew 3 languages at minimum. Like, he would talk in those 3 languages, and he was learning other languages. Like, he could have already known, like, German and stuff like that. Like, he was messing around, like, with German people. Like he learned how to trash talk Dirk Nowitzki because he, in his language, so he could know, hey, look, I'm trash talking you. Like, that is like powerful. Like, like, that man was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn German, like, a little bit of German, so I can, like, throw something out. Like, that's just, you know, someone like that can inspire millions of people around the world. It's hard not to talk about him. It's hard not to have a tribute to him. It's hard to not, like, have that in the back of your mind when you're going through your everyday life. Like, out of nowhere like that, it could just be gone. And you want to live every day of your life like he did, because he didn't waste a second of his life. Like, any part of his life was not wasted, because he was trying to do his best for the people he loved and for himself. And, you know, just, like, if you're caught up in work and you're caught up in, or you don't want to do something in your life, just look in the mirror and really find out what you want. Because once you find out what you want, work hard at it endlessly. Do it to its full potential, because you can do it. Like, it's not,
I mean, where did Kobe come from?
like,
Came from, like,
Philadelphia, a city right out Philadelphia. Came through St. Marian High School.
Came in with, like,
He
18, youngest?
17. Well, he was
17?
drafted at 17, I guess, right? And was 18 when he was playing. So
Yeah.
yeah, 18.
So he
I
was
guess
like,
he's playing. He's the youngest to ever play in the game.
Exactly.
And when he got in, he had that mentality. When he got in the league, he had that mentality of, I'm gonna be the hardest working player. Even if I am the best player, I'm gonna still be the hardest working player, because that is who he was when he came in the league. Like, Jerry West, the person who drafted him, because he was the GM at the time of the Lakers, he was like, he's got it. And he didn't draft him. He traded for him on draft night. So, but he got him because he was like, I want to, like, this guy works hard. And that was unheard of with people, because he came right out of high school. Mm-hmm. He was the first player to come out of high school and do something. Like, do something. And Jerry West saw that in him and was like, all right. And people say, oh, well, over time he developed the Mamba mentality. And Jerry West, like, he had it when he came in. He had it because he worked hard, and even when he missed a shot, he was like, I've shot that shot 3,000 times in the gym. Next time I shoot it, I'm gonna make it. And it didn't even cross his mind that because he missed it, he's in a slump. He was like, I'm gonna keep shooting this shot because I've shot this shot 1,000 times. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, in his first playoff game against the Jazz, or not his first one, but, you know, his first ending of a playoff series, but it was against the Jazz, and he had the ball in his hands and he airballed it. Got again, airballed it 3 times. And most young kids would take that to heart and be like, you know,
I guess I'm off
and it would
tonight.
and it would affect them.
I know I would. I would be like, well, I just can't ring anything
Yeah,
tonight.
it would affect them. And this was in the end of the game, clutch shots, and he airballed them, 3 of them. You know, go ahead buckets. You know, tie the games, a go ahead bucket, and he just could not hit, and it did not affect him at all. He was like, okay, well, I'm gonna keep working, and I'm gonna get better. And what did he do? Next year, he came in, won a championship, and was like, what's up? Came in again, won a championship. Hey, what's up? Came in again, won a championship. Hey, what's up? 3-peat. Like, as much as people were like, oh man, you know, Kobe, the ball hog, you know, and that's what really affected it. That man won games where he only scored like 12 points. And how do you do that? It's working hard. It's literally every possession he would defend. He would get, like, he knew the game. His IQ was beyond anyone else that was on the court, and he knew that. So he was like, you know what? If my shot keeps missing, it doesn't affect my game because I can do all these other things that affect the game.
Yeah.
And that's how you got to look at life, you know? Just because you mess up at something doesn't mean you're bad at it. Doesn't mean you can't get better. And even if you aren't good at that one thing, you can be good at a million other things and still affect the world. Affect the world, you know? Like, there's so many outlets in this world that you can go through and be great at and make a difference.
Yeah.
And you just got to seek it.
Which,
and in his final game.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
His final game was against the Jazz. And he dropped 60 on them. Went from air balls to dropping 60 on the team. It's full circle. You can't write a better book than that. You can't.
But speaking of what you were just saying about, you know, working hard and it doesn't matter what area you're in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Neil Peart for a second here.
Yeah.
He, like I said, was the drummer for Rush. And he is by far my favorite drummer ever of all time. I think he's a lot of people's favorite drummer.
Yeah. Just like Kobe was a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah.
Basketball.
And it's not just because, like, he was in Rush, which is a rock band, is a prog rock, progressive rock. And you're like, oh, you know, that's not a genre for everybody, you know?
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. You can like whatever genre, and even if you don't, you listen to him drum, and you're like, this guy
can drum.
This guy is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. To the point, like, okay, so he started out. First of all, this is crazy. He actually wasn't even gonna be in Rush. Rush. Two main people, other than Neil, was Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee. And they're from Russia, from the same... Russia. They're not from Russia. They're from Canada, from the same area. And they had another drummer. And they ended up having to get a different drummer for their first album whenever they came to America to do their first album, because their drummer had some kind of illness that made it where he couldn't, like, exert himself as much. And being a drummer, that's a lot of what you do. And so, like, just the fact that Neil happened to be able to get into this band is just, like, destiny.
It's happenstance. Yeah.
And then they started playing, right? And if you listen to Rush, like, you listen to their early stuff, he's just playing, right? But you can see over time, like, he's playing amazingly for the genre that he's in, but he still was like, but I like these other things. He liked reggae. He liked just all sorts of other genres that existed, jazz, you know, outside of rock, and he took inspiration from that, which you can clearly see in songs like Spirit of the Radio, where it literally goes into just reggae at the end of it. About. And just all sorts of songs where he has clear jazz influences in the song, but it's still in prog rock. He's still able to mix that into it, and the only way he was able to do that is because he worked hard continuously to master drumming.
Yeah.
Even when he got to the pinnacle of his career, assumedly, where it's like, all right, I'm the best at drumming ever. He never thought that. He always was like, oh man,
I could do this.
I'm not good enough. What did he do? He went to I can't remember his first name, something Gruber. He's a jazz drummer, and he went to him and was like, hey, how do I do things better? And after already having a successful career, was like, oh, had the humility to be like, I'm not good at this. I'm not as good as I ever could be. So I need to go get training from someone else.
Yeah.
And then he went to him and learned how to play even more. And that's just talking about, I mean, him and Kobe do have very similar mentalities of like, you can still be better. You can still continue.
There's not a day in your life where you can't get better.
Yeah. And
or at least something.
He had, like I said earlier, he had brain cancer. But that never, he knew that. I think he had it for like 3 years, and he'd been fighting with it. But even still, during all that time, he was still learning new stuff. He was still picking up new drumming techniques and learning new. Because I mean, you look into the drum scene. There's like all sorts of new products of drum things, different drum kits and stuff that come out all the time. He's like, ooh, how can I incorporate that into something? That new kick or that new type of snare, whatever. Or there's a whole new type of instrument that you can smack. And he's like, how can I put that in there? You look at his drum set. It's just a circle around him of different drums that just everywhere. And on his drum set, he has xylophones, electric type beats, and things that he can like loop himself playing so that he can continue playing other stuff on top of it. Like he didn't learn all of that stuff from stopping after being good. He got good to the point that people thought that he was probably the best drummer. Yeah. Then he continued to get better and was like, oh man, actually this guy is the best drummer. And on top of that, like the reason that he sought Mr. Gruber, that's all I'm going to say. I can't remember his first name, but the reason he sought after him is because he was looking at another band and looking at their drummer, and he was like, oh my God, this guy's getting really good. Like he's been good for a long time. And it was I can't remember if it was like Def Leppard. No, it wasn't Def Leppard. It was some other, classic rock band that you would think of that's similar to Def Leppard. Might have been Journey. But either way, he noticed that he was getting like a whole lot better, and he was like, oh. He goes up to him and he's like, how are you getting so much better? And he referred him to this jazz drummer, and he's like, oh yeah, I gotta get some lessons from him. And he went to him and he was like, please, you have to teach me. I need to know
Imagine
these
a
techniques.
legend like Neil coming to you and being like, I need to learn something.
Yeah, imagine that. Like the best drummer in the world comes to you and is like, I need you to tell me how to do stuff. You're
like, that's like if Kobe came to, can you show me how to do that little move?
Yeah, exactly. It's the same.
I mean, I guess it's like,
and that's the
crazy.
thing. I'm sure Kobe did ask people that. Like he saw. He saw someone do something, and he watched that. Either maybe he didn't necessarily directly ask them, but he definitely studied that technique. Like it's the same thing.
In the final years of his career, he was doing the Dirk.
The Dirk.
The Dirk, like the one-legged, everyone knows the Dirk. If you know basketball, you know what the Dirk is.
Yeah.
You just bring that leg up and you shoot it high. Like, and now, his mentality has went through the league. Like, once you, like, this is going to change the game forever. Like, a tragedy like this and how many players he impacted in the league is going to change how they look at the game. They're going to be like, you know what? Like, I've been slacking. I've been doing this wrong. And they're going to, put their head down and start working harder than they ever have. Because, and I know, but once you get good at something, like being in the NBA, you're a top 1%, even if you are on the bench and not playing any minutes. You're in the top 1% of basketball players. So, how do you get better in that top 1%?
Yeah.
Is you work hard. Like, so whenever, like, a new thing comes out, like the James Harden step back or something like that, he's like, basically travel, but we're not going to get into that, and he shoots it.
Yeah. That
became a big thing for a couple years, and you're like, but for one, how do you defend it? How do you do it? And
can I do it better?
How do you incorporate it into the game, into your game, and the way you play? And how do you do it better? That's another thing.
How can I do it better?
And since then, when he first did it and it started getting popular, like, man, you started thinking, okay, well, if he can do it, I can do it. I can do it in this way. Or you can, instead of going backwards with it, you can go to the side and go up with it.
And then you're creating your own thing.
Yeah, and there's so many things that you can do it with. So, and you've seen players in the league going, okay, well, I can do this. And the game changed. It's just like Steph Curry with shooting threes. Everybody's like, oh, man, well, I guess we need to start shooting threes. Because they're outscoring us by 30 points.
Yeah.
Probably because they're hitting all their threes.
Yeah.
So, and then that went into the Rockets' way of playing the game. They literally would shoot threes and try to not shoot twos. Like, they're like, you know what? Unless it was a wide open two, you're shooting a three. That's it. And that's when James Harden was like, all right, watch this. I whack. And shoot it in your face, and you're like, I just got that one in the eye, And then later on, now there's teams that are like, well, we got to do this different because, and the game's ever evolving. Mm-hmm. And if you don't work hard at something and you don't learn and you don't progress, you're going to be left behind. Straight up. So, and if you work every day, you'll be the next person. You'll be the next thing. And Kobe never had that thought process. He was like, I work hard every day anyways. I am going to be the best. He's always, like, one of the sayings he did, he was playing against the Boston Celtics. He said, someone said, so if you don't win this, they're going into Game 7. He said, so if you don't win this, are you going to feel gratitude? Are you going to feel, like, glad you at least made it? And he was like, no, I'm not going to be glad I made it. He was like, what type of... He's like, look, am I going to feel happy that I got here? Yeah. But afterwards, I'm not going to feel happy I got there. I'm going to feel like, oh my goodness, I didn't win that. Like, I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Mm-hmm. But he was like, if I'm not winning that championship, then, and you don't feel like, hey, I want to win that championship, even afterwards, then you shouldn't be here. Because if you aren't working hard for it, you aren't working for it.
Yeah.
So, and he guided a whole team of misfits to a championship and won it twice. Yeah. He lost to the Celtics in 2008 and was like, okay, well, I got to get better. He got even better. He changed the game again and was like, all right, let me do this. Won a championship, beat the Magic. And then he got his redemption story. 2010, plays against the Celtics. And he's like, no, I'm about to win this one. Mm-hmm. And he wins it. And they asked him, it's like, so, how do you feel about this championship? He was like, this is the best one because I beat them. Like, he was like, some people was like, oh, it's probably going to be your first one because you felt it, And it's like the it's not the destination, it's the journey. You feel that journey when you get to the destination.
Yeah.
He was like, nah, man, I just beat the team that beat me, and I won this. Like,
Yeah.
And that's who Kobe was. He was honest.
He's after that revenge.
And I like, this always stuck with me. He had an interview with some guy at ESPN, and he was like, so how would you describe yourself? And he was like, I'm the type of person that if you have a booger in your nose, I'm going to tell you got a booger in your nose. Like, some people would just like either make fun of you for it, or either not tell you and let people make fun of you for it, or literally just go grab it out your nose. But I'm the type of person that's going to say, hey, you got a booger in your nose. And that may be something simple, but in reality, that is a big trait to have. Because if you can be real with someone, at all times, it doesn't matter what it is, what situation, where you're at in life, just be real.
And it's no big deal either.
Yeah.
It's just like,
so, hey,
this is a fact. And now
just,
let's continue.
Yeah.
And
it didn't affect him, so he just, hey, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
That really impacted my life, because I was like, just be real. Don't try to, like, be scared of stating the obvious. Don't be scared to give someone facts when they need to hear it. Like, and sometimes harshness is okay, because sometimes they gotta hear it.
You don't have to be
so
mean about it.
Yeah, it's not mean. It's being real. And some people would see it as mean, and that's the reason why Kobe was kind of like loved and hated. Is because he was just real all the time. He was just like, hey, this is what's going on. And in his later years, like, he was just like more open to more people, and they realized, oh, he's just being real because that's who he is. He's real. Like, he's going to tell you how it is. And if that's with basketball, if that's with your shoes untied, if that's with, oh, your glasses are crooked, would you like he's not going to bring up something that he knows can't be fixed, Yeah. So that's how real he was. And like, with his retirement and everything, he changed that. He didn't change who he was. He changed, like, his outlook on life. You could tell it. He was just, even the people of the upper class elite looked at him with, like, awe. They were like, that's Kobe Bryant. Like, and when they had a conversation with Kobe Bryant, it's like, I just had a conversation with Kobe Bryant, Yeah. And he's one of the only few people in this world that has ever had that. Like, even Michael Jordan. I'm not gonna. It's a bad thing to compare. I don't like comparing, even in situations like with anything. So, you would talk to Michael Jordan, and you're in awe. You're like, that's Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. But Michael Jordan was just like, I'm living my life. I'm doing my thing. I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go do that. Kobe was like, would seek it out. He would be like Shaq's son had a heart condition and couldn't play for a year, and got heart surgery and stuff and got it fixed. He would message Sharif, that's his name, every once in a while, like, how you doing, man? And like, you may think, that's normal. That's what he would do. But just imagine every person that he did that to. Mm-hmm. He didn't do that just because I was that Shaq's son. He did that to every person that he felt that needed that, And literally the day before he passed away, Sharif got a message. Hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm doing much better. Like, this is going on, this is going on. He's like, look, stick to it. You're gonna get out there and you're gonna get better. Like, he would, like, a fan comes up to him and is like, hey, can you send like something to my son? He's trying out for basketball next week, and can you give him some advice? And he would give that kid that he does not know at all advice. He'd be like, you just gotta go out there and play your game. You gotta play it for the game. You're not playing it for anyone else. Like, it's easy to play basketball, you know, like it's not hard to play basketball. You're just dribbling the ball, shooting, you know.
It's hard to be good though.
It's hard to be good, but it's not hard to just play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get that, you're just like, I'm just gonna go out here and play basketball and love it. And once you do that, you can get comfortable. And once you get comfortable, you can get better at something, you know?
Yeah.
So he was just like, just stay out there. And he was like, sometimes I wish there was a magic wand. And he was like, wait a second. No, I don't. Because that just takes away of it. All the hard work. Just work hard, son. Like, you know? Like, because that's who he was.
I will say, for Neil Peart, he was not a very outgoing person. There's a line in great Rush song, obviously, Limelight, in which he wrote most of the songs. I wouldn't say most. He wrote a good portion of
or at least
Rush
co-wrote.
Yeah. And in Limelight, he says, a simple line, I can't pretend a stranger is a long-awaited friend. That's about the opposite of Kobe there. They are opposite in that way.
Because sometimes the limelight is hard to do.
Yes. And for him, he was very reserved. Actually, pretty much all of Rush was reserved because they toured with like some big people like Guns N' Roses and stuff and Aerosmith. And I think it was with Aerosmith, they Steven Tyler like went back and was like trying to see what they were up to and everything. It was like, because they were partying, because, you know, it's Aerosmith, they were partying, right? And he goes back there and goes in their room, and Neil's just sitting there, trying to write a song. Getty is reading Lord of the Rings or something like that. And Alex is just chilling, watching TV, and they're all just sitting there in robes, just chilling. To be fair, at that point in time, they were going on stage in kimonos because it was a whole thing they were doing. But yeah, they were just chilling. They're like, "Hey, you wanna come party?" And they're like, "Nah, we're good. We're good."
Yeah, and that's okay.
And yeah, and
you know,
that's how they work. But Neil was very reserved, and then at one point he actually lost his wife. And at that point, he told Getty and Alex, he's like, I'm not gonna be doing anything for a while. And they're like, of course, you go do you, man. He got on a motorcycle and just drove. And he just drove for months, and he just was going around all over the country, just driving all over the place. And then through that, over time, he found another person, and he got married again. But it's a thing of like, where some people might, this is a good lesson to learn too, like, you can't be, some people, like, whenever they're sad or upset or what have you, whatever emotion they're feeling, some people like to be alone. Some people just need space. And some people are the complete opposite, and they need to be around family, friends. They just need to be around a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so, like the other members of Rush, they knew how he was. They knew he needed space. So they let him go. No matter what they were working on, they were like, you go. Just, we know this is what you need. You can't be around people. That's not how you cope. That's not how you cope. And that's the same thing you have to learn with people, is like, you can't be upset with how they cope. If they need to be alone, some people try to push themselves. They're like trying to be comforting to people, and they're like, hey, blah, 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 blah. No. That might not be how they want it.
Yeah.
Which brings me to when he passed away, even when he passed away, people didn't know until like 2-3 days later that he had passed away, because he was private. He kept everything personal. I mean, but even up to the day that he passed away, I was getting, messages. Rush is going on a new tour. They were having a new drummer to play, and I didn't know exactly why I was like, why is Neil not playing? Obviously, I guess he has his reasons, but ends up he was sick. But I got an article that popped up just like 4 or 5 days before I knew that he passed away. So it was like 2 days before he passed away, actually. I got this article that was saying Rush is actually talking that they're going to have a special thing with Neil drumming. So up to the day, like, he continually thought, hey, I'm going to go out there and perform. I'm going to go out there and do all that I can, Yeah. Even in his condition. Having brain cancer, having to go through chemo and everything.
Yeah.
He still was like, yeah, I can't be on the whole tour, but I'm going to come out at least one day. I'm try to be there at some point.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Just
like, think about that. The
willpower to do that is
because
so strong.
I mean, I couldn't. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you're sitting there. I can't even imagine how going through chemo and how draining that and stuff really, that is. And you still are like, I'm going to try to go out here and do this thing that takes up so much energy. And I'm gonna at least go try. All of that knowing, like, hindsight, 2 days later he passes away. But before that, and I say 2 days, I don't know exactly the time frame in which all this news exactly happened. I just know when I read it, But my point, I think inspiration. I think both of our points is that both of these people inspired millions of people in different areas. Kobe being basketball, but on to other
ventures,
other things.
Yeah.
Neil in music. Like, you ask any
you didn't
drummer.
even have to talk to him. You didn't have to have a conversation with the man. You didn't have to do anything. And that was what's really important with both people. You didn't have to have a conversation with them. You didn't have to see them live. You didn't have to do anything. You could just, like, either watch a game or listen to their music. And you're just like, that would inspire you to be like,
yeah, I
want to do this. Like, they didn't have to say a word.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful they were,
Mm-hmm.
Like, Neil and his lyrics, you're like, oh wait, that you feel it, and Kobe, with the way he carried himself, the way you could tell that even though he was the best player on the court, he still worked harder than everybody on the court. Like, you could see it.
And the same thing with Neil, like we said, even though he was not self-proclaimed the best drummer, he still worked hard to become told him that he was the best drummer,
what he saw as the best,
and then he was like, no, I'm still not good enough, and worked to be better, and then he got better and was like, oh, well, now you're even better. Like, this is crazy.
With that said, like, whenever Kobe passed, like, it hit me like bricks, like, it just bang. And because obviously it wasn't like he was sick or something. It wasn't like he had something wrong. It just was like, boom, helicopter accident. And, and so, I cried the 3 days after he passed away. It was, because it's thought process of, like, thinking, Like, you can never see that person.
Yeah.
And you know, me and you've been through stuff where, like, you know, friends and family pass away, and you're like, you can never see that person again.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, that is what really affects, and, like, and then knowing Gigi's on there and she can't fulfill what she wanted to for him.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks. And so, and he inspired me. And it may be weird that, you know, I cried whenever he died, because I never got the chance to see him or talk to him or anything. But that's just a testament to how far his reach was. Like, you didn't have to have a conversation with him or see him in person to really feel it. It was just seeing him grow up on, you know, in basketball.
You really did get to see him grow up.
Yeah, it was from, like, you see him draft at 17 to retiring and then teaching everybody the game of basketball. Like, he was like a pillar in basketball. And having that just, like, gone, it sucks. And
I would like to say, whenever I heard that Neil passed away, I also felt the same thing. It was like, you always have this hope of, like, I'm gonna go see them in concert. I'm gonna go see a game before he retired, or at this point, maybe I'll go to some place that he's at. You know, you always have that hope that I can meet this person someday.
Yeah.
Just to say how much they impacted me, which, as much as you say, you were talking about how much Kobe impacted you, Neil impacted me musically just as much.
Yeah.
Because a good portion of when I was younger, I got into rock music, and part of that being through Rush. Rush is still one of my favorite bands ever. Definitely, probably number 2, only behind Dragon Force. And just the way that their music inspired me to also want to make my own music, even though knowing that I'm not as good, I knew that I could get good, knowing how they were able to. I mean, now talking about just Rush in general, Geddy Lee plays bass and keyboards.
And sings.
Alex also sings, and he plays guitar. But then he plays multiple guitars, like different types of guitars. And then Neil Peart is up here with a drum kit that's literally just a giant circle around him of various different noises. Yeah. So it's just like they started where I started, you know. Alex just got a guitar randomly. He asked his parents, "Hey, can I get a guitar?" When he was like 14, and they were like, "Sure." And Geddy was his friend over here. He was playing, hilariously enough, Geddy was a xylophone player. Is that right? What is this? What is this? Yeah. Not xylophone. What is this? Accordion. Why did I say xylophone? I don't even know. Accordion. And then Alex got the guitar, and he was like, "Oh, well, if you got a guitar, I'm gonna need something different." And so then he got a bass, and so that they could, you know, bass
together
and guitar, and they could do stuff. And then they got a drummer, and then they made a song.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history, or what I explained earlier.
Yeah. The rest is destiny.
Yes.
The rest is destiny.
But just to know that that's where they came from. They just oh, I'm just gonna get a guitar.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get a bass.
They had the basic startups of like us, and that's the same thing with Kobe. He started out with the basketball in his hand.
He's just
shooting, you know.
I think I'm just gonna, I'm pretty decent at this.
He's like, all right, well, let's do this.
And what did they do to, like, continue that?
Hard
they
work.
got better with hard work, like.
Which is an inspiration.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
Is all you can say.
Um,
And lastly, I would like to say, both of them, so inspirational. They have, memes about them. Kobe, obviously, just Kobe, in general.
so one word that you just like,
And then
well, he surpassed the beef. That's why he's named after.
Really?
Yeah. His
Oh.
dad literally, his mom and dad
yeah.
went to a Japanese restaurant.
Yeah.
And they looked on this like Kobe. We're gonna name our kid this, and they named their kid Kobe, and his middle name's Bean, because of his dad's nickname, the Bean.
The Bean.
Yeah. So his name's Kobe Bean Bryant.
And then Rush is in just like all sorts of movies and stuff that get repeated all the time, like I Love You Man with Paul Rudd, and the one with the I slap the bass man. Like that whole part was in that movie was he's talking to his wife in the movie, Paul Rudd is, and he said, yeah, we were playing some Rush, and his wife goes, what is Rush? Or it's his fiance at the time. She's like, what is Rush? And he's like, what, you don't know what Rush is? You don't know who that is? And then she's like, no, I have no clue. And then he starts playing I can't remember what song, but he's playing a song, I think it's Limelight, and while it's playing, he's just like doing this because he's being the bass player. He's being Getty, and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm slapping a bass man. and like that's where that comes from. And like the whole lot of that movie is them being Rush fans, and they go to a Rush concert, and like I'd say both of them are just, they did their things to the point that people wanted to put them in their stuff.
Yeah, and they inspired people.
They inspired people to so much that they're like, we have to put you in our movie, our game, whatever.
Mention them in a song.
Mention them. Yeah. You know. And
like there's this thing
make
what
is it? Mods, so that when you throw grenades it says Kobe.
It's one thing to be great at something, but it's another thing to inspire people to be great. And once you get there, if you can inspire the next generation, and even the generation after that, that's what makes you great. It's having the path already paved for you, and make sure that the people behind you can get there. And that's what Neil and Kobe did. And they inspired us and millions of other people around the world to do what they wanted to do great. Mm-hmm. And that's just a testament of both men. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. It was something that we just came up with on the whim. We were like, these two great people that we loved passed away this year. And
so quickly.
Yeah, and it's another thing. We want to send our condolences out to those families that were hurt in that helicopter accident. Like
and the families of both.
Yeah. It's just great people in this world can be gone like that, and just live every day to inspire and be great yourself. And on that note, stay tuned.
And stay excited.